Hey guys, before we begin this episode, I wanted to let you guys know that we were actually featured by the AV Club. Specifically, Zach Brook wrote a cool article about us for their featured podcasts of the week. It's super cool that AV Club loves what we're doing, and we wanted to shout them out as well. So check them out. They're always putting out great content about podcasts, and we're honored to be a part of that. Thanks, and enjoy the show.
Virgin, where every week Alan and Adam recount Bible stories from their childhoods to me. I've never heard them before. My name is Nick.
I'm Alan.
And I'm Adam.
So last week was Daniel part 1.
Yes.
First Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel, yes.
Not
First
actually
and second Daniel.
Yeah. And this week is Daniel part 2. Not the final part.
Not the conclusion. Not the reckoning.
Not the reckoning.
But we're not going to get into that. It'll be, again, part of our Revelation series at an undetermined point in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you and I are ready to handle prophetic Daniel yet.
No, not at all.
I mean, it seems like that's like series finale material.
It
Totally.
might. Oh, we could go out on, and maybe have, the rapture.
Yeah, it's where we strap on our Nikes and just do it.
Mm-hmm. When we're literally recording at the end of all time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we just had the fiery furnace.
Oh, so we are recapping a little bit.
Well, I mean, just the most recent thing.
Yeah.
So the fiery furnace.
Very fucking
Daniel,
hot furnace.
The story
killed
in
all the
Daniel,
people just approaching it, but not the three.
The story in Daniel that doesn't actually involve Daniel at all, and doesn't explain why he's not there, which is cool. So that was the king Nebuchadnezzar.
Mm-hmm.
So Nebuchadnezzar is still king for this one. He has another dream.
I don't remember. Okay. So I remember the outcome of this dream. I don't remember the dream. Is the dream basically...
Blair, sounds like you're a real Nebuchadnezzar.
He actually does remember this one.
Oh, he remembers this one.
Yeah, he doesn't make...
I'm an early Nebuchadnezzar, not late Nebuchadnezzar.
I mean, it's 50-50.
Yeah. And we don't know what the ratio is on the other dreams either. They just weren't as good. So yeah, you're going to have to... I can tell you what happens as a result of the dream.
Sure. So Nebuchadnezzar has this rather long dream and freaks out enough, and he goes straight to Daniel because he's like,
well, good record.
No one else can do this. The rest of my
also
Chaldeans.
Didn't he kill all the other ones?
Yeah, he killed everybody else.
Well, he started.
Okay, right, yeah.
He started. Presumably there were interns.
Who have now just
I guess
plowed through.
They didn't really have
ranks.
firing squads. They would have done this individually. You couldn't kill en masse. You had to kill stab 1, stab 2, stab 3.
So I was looking, and behold, a tree in the midst of the earth. Basically, I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's very long. There's a big tree. It was a beautiful tree, and then a voice from above says to cut down the tree and scatter the leaves around, and the tree is then grazing with the animals.
The tree. Okay.
So it's a big, beautiful tree.
Yeah.
Tree's cut down, and then the tree is now grazing with the animals.
Wait, the tree is grazing. Okay, I thought you were misspeaking there. The tree is literally grazing like the animals.
Yeah. Chop down the tree. Blah blah blah. And let him graze with the beasts on the grass of the earth. Let his heart be changed from that of a man. So the tree was also a man. It's a dream. This is fairly standard dream logic.
Sure. Makes you wonder if the dream is a herbivore. I mean, sorry, shit. The tree's an herbivore.
Sure. I mean,
cut that out.
Yeah.
Nope. So yeah, that was the dream. I mean, in reality, I've had way weirder dreams.
Yeah, that's also
absolutely.
I mean, you have those dreams though where when you recount the dream, you're like, this is pretty banal, but after when you wake up, you're like, this means much more than it actually means.
Let me
maybe it was one of those.
Let me pause really quickly. I have an apology to Nick. Last week, I made fun of him for being afraid of the Count from Sesame Street. And then I was watching a copious amount of Sesame Street this week.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a scene where they all go to the grocery store and they're adding things to their basket, apples, etc. And then they go to put some garlic in the Count's basket. And he's like, no garlic for me. And I'm like, shit, he is a vampire.
Of course he's a vampire.
I was defending him. I thought he was just a count with pointy teeth.
So Alan was telling me this earlier, and I feel like, didn't you mention that now you see his feet from time to time?
Yeah. There's like dancing scenes where you see his shiny wingtips.
I think you mentioned that last episode.
Oh, is that,
actually?
I couldn't remember if that was like in between or if that was during
It's
the episode.
disgusting.
Yeah. Also, halfway through this last season, he stops counting. They pull the cookies out of the oven, and the first half of the season, he'd like count up to 18.
Right.
Even if it was a big number. Then they had the 0 episode where there were 0 cookies, which was fucked up. And now it'll just be like they'll pull the cookies out of the oven, and he'll be like 12. And I'm like, no.
They broke the count.
They're really moving too fast.
Yeah. Episode 0 messed everything up.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Nebuchadnezzar's a tree.
Nebuchadnezzar's a tree. Are you wanting me to keep? Is that the end of the dream?
That's the end of the dream.
Okay, so I don't remember why, but he pisses off God somehow.
Well, Daniel tells him
That you pissed off God.
you will piss off God.
Oh, okay. So it's the beginning of the like prophetic-y. Because here's the thing. Alan's going to have to correct all of this, but the end result is that Nebuchadnezzar ends up becoming a cow for all intents and purposes. Like he goes crazy and all he wants to do is eat grass.
So basically, Daniel
Is that
Daniel
close?
doesn't want to interpret the dream. And
Okay.
Nebuchadnezzar's like, no, dude, it's cool. We're bros. And so he says, well, the tree is you. You're the best.
He doesn't want to because he knows what the dream means and it's not good news.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the king has a history of killing people.
Right. Yeah.
Pretty willy-nilly.
Yes.
And creatively.
Yes.
And so Daniel starts interpreting the dream. You're the tree, you're the tallest, you're beautiful, but then you will defy God or like be too comfortable in your amazingness, and you will become like that of an animal for 7 years.
Okay.
This is, it kind of feels like when I was in grade school, there was this like, going to a Christian school, like there was this dare that it's kind of like an urban legend going around that like if you would say the words "fuck you, God" with intention, that you would be struck by lightning or instantly die. Like there's this.
Is this like your school's Candyman?
Yeah,
Was it
yeah.
Candyman?
I don't know. I think there's a Candyman.
Isn't that the?
I
isn't
think
it a
you were
movie?
just doing the Beetlejuice thing though.
Well,
No. I think
this
Candyman
would have
is
been about the same time. Yeah.
But yeah, kind of. But it was just like this thing. Like the urban legend was like specifically,
Right.
if you would like look up to heaven, mean it,
Right.
like instantly dead.
Did you ever try it?
Yeah.
That does not surprise me at all.
But I also like rationalized that my heart really wasn't into it because I was really just like tempting fate.
You're just doing it to show off. Were you doing it in front of other people or was this like a private thing that you did in your
I did, but
backyard?
totally private.
Okay.
Totally private. But yeah, I kind of feel like that's what Nebuchadnezzar does is something to that effect. Where like during a party or something,
He's just kind of strolling around the palace and he's like, I'm the best. And then
I'm better than
It was
God.
exactly 12 years or 12 months later. So
Okay.
1 year. And that very hour,
math checks
the
out.
word was fulfilled concerning Nebuchadnezzar. He was driven from men and ate grass like oxen. His body was wet with dew of heaven till his hair had grown like eagle's feathers and his nails like bird's claws.
Wow.
That's really
For 7 years.
a really poetic way of saying he just let himself go.
Man, I love this.
Right. But then I believe at that point he becomes sane again and is then like back to being king.
And praises God.
In
Yeah.
that 7 year period, these people did not have a king.
This is a good question because given how quickly people seem to like usurp the king, even when he's alive,
Yeah.
I don't feel like they would wait 7 years.
been eating grass outside for a couple days.
Right.
Now's our time.
So Asimov says.
he just killed my 2 best friends in a very hot furnace,
So Asimov says.
etc.
Of course, there is no record in secular history of Nebuchadnezzar suffering from such a strange malady.
Well, yeah, because
And
he wrote the history books.
it's in the highest degree unlikely that he did.
No, this is just
thank
this
you.
is conspiracy. This is winners writing the history books.
However, I will say the next chapter, there's
Wonder
no
if anyone
more
tried
Nebuchadnezzar.
if anyone tried to milk Nebuchadnezzar.
I don't think he like grew more like teats.
Well,
Did they give him hay maybe?
Like, did they keep him? I mean, apparently not. No one also took care of him. They didn't like. They let his hair grows, his nails grow.
Yeah.
Like they just kind of let him be
Like bird's claws.
like bird's claws.
Also hair like eagle's feathers.
That sounds nice.
Doesn't sound nice.
Maybe it got dreaded.
yeah, like really thick and wiry and then like sprouting. So split.
Oh,
so
ends.
split.
Yeah.
that they are like multiple.
Or you know how like when some people
Fractals.
like don't wash their hair and it gets kind of like almost like layered, looks
Yeah.
a lot like feathers, like,
like the
layered
opposite.
feathers.
I think they call that feathering, like the layering.
Is that what feathering is?
I think so.
Oh, okay.
Probably not.
I'm bald, Nick. I don't know this hair
Me
terminology.
too.
So it's 2 out of 3 members of the KJV podcast. So yeah, the next chapter, new king.
One day,
Is
Alan.
this Meet
One
the
day,
Persians?
when you spite God, you will become bald too.
Yes, well, I don't plan on it. I will keep praising the name of the Lord to keep my luscious Samson-esque locks.
Yeah. See.
So yeah, there's a new king, and this is where
But still Babylonian king.
yes,
Yes. Oh, yes, because it's the right. Got it.
But the fun thing is, this guy was, from a historical standpoint, this is where the book takes a turn because Belshazzar is the next king.
Okay.
However, never actually a king
Doesn't
according
exist.
to history. It's like 60 years later after Nebuchadnezzar, and
Wait, so Daniel's
he was like,
how old's Daniel at this point then?
well, it's not real at all.
Right, but like, okay.
Well, the
Presumably, you're trying to maintain a fiction. You wouldn't write that Daniel is now
there was
175.
there's like a king between these, and then this guy's dad is actually like the high priest. So Belshazzar is actually like a high prince, but it just calls him the king in the Bible.
And so, is this technically like the next level of the statue?
No,
Are we
so
there yet?
that's what I was actually
No, we're
asking
still
Alan about.
We're still in Babylon,
Okay.
but this is
Right.
one of the big points that it points to it not being written at the time it was
Oh, really?
supposedly written.
Well, because I mean,
Because
this
he was
is-
just getting like what should have been current events super wrong.
Oh, fair enough.
He was
'Cause-
writing it from hundreds of years later,
Right.
400 years.
So, King's throwing a party, and like people are just having a blast, going all night. It's a rager, and suddenly, a invisible hand.
Oh, you missed why. They're having such a good party that they're like, you know what? Let's bring out the gold and silver goblets from the Jewish temple we sacked
Oh, I
and
didn't
use
forget
them
about
to
that.
drink out of.
Right,
Okay.
and so then
So,
they're
like-
Disrespectful.
Exactly.
disrespectful. They're drinking. They're going for it. Then an invisible hand, which this was as a kid, I kept asking for clarification on this because like in the illustration in the Bible story books, it would be like the outline of a hand with like shading, but you could like it was kind of translucent. I was like, but that's not invisible.
Right.
So this is a point of contention for me as Adam as little boy.
You were
in the
handed.
same-
You were
in the
handed
same
an Adam
hour-
Smith.
Fingers of a man's hand appeared and wrote opposite on the lampstand of plaster of the wall. So it's just fingers.
Right.
apparently.
Anyway, fingers right on the wall, essentially saying your time is up. The Medes and the Persians are coming for you.
Do you remember what it wrote?
No.
I'm going to pronounce this super wrong because there's no pronunciation guide.
Excellent.
Mene, tekel, upharsin.
Oh, yeah. I remember the tekel because it's a funny word.
Yeah.
But yeah, essentially, like your time is up, and we're moving on to the next
Okay.
chunk of the statue.
Yep.
Which I believe Daniel then comes in and goes like, "Yeah, the dream that I interpreted apparently 80 years ago or 60 years ago is coming true. The Medes, you're going to be sacked by the Medes and the Persians." And then is it
It's
that
God
night?
has weighed you and found wanting. You
Oh.
were found wanting.
You've been weighed, you've been measured, you've been found wanting.
You remember that, right?
Yeah. And then, but then is it that night? Because it's really, in my brain, it was immediately after that the Medes and the Persians, they're currently actually sacking.
Yeah, at that moment.
Well, there's a fun part before that where the king, air quotes, is like, anyone who, he's obviously drunk.
Right.
Anyone who can interpret this, I'll, give him a purple robe and clothe him in gold. And the queen is like, hey, your dad, not his dad,
Right.
like 60 years earlier, your dad used this guy named Daniel all the time.
See if he's still
Why
around.
don't you go get him? And so once he interprets it, they like dress him up like a king, like clothe him in gold. And
Daniel like a king?
yeah.
So that there's like
Nice.
this 105-year-old guy who they've now dressed as a king.
Yep.
But yeah, then it says that very night, Belshazzar, king of the Chaldeans, was slain.
So it was that night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
So the Medes and the Persians are tunneling in. Like it's like Daniel makes his pronouncement, they put a thing on him, and like the floor erupts, and Medes and Persians like, rah!
Yeah.
and according to history, it's actually like, so a guy named Belshazzar was like the high prince at that time, and he did make
Throw parties.
he did make like a last. It was very weak defenses of Babylon at that time. They just no one was really protecting it. They were interested in like educational things and not like war. And he made like a last stand against the Medes and the Persians or whomever, and was killed.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that does track with the like,
it does sort of track,
but the years later interpretation of
Right.
what was going on.
However, the next king, the guy who takes over, we also historically have no record of.
Just to add weird validity to the story, if it was the last stand, potentially everybody else could have been killed, and he was the current leader. And as the like person holding the last stand, he could be considered the king.
True, but he wouldn't have been during the party with the writing on the wall.
Fair. Well, if it was that day, he shouldn't have been having a party.
But if everyone was already being killed.
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate that you're trying to make this all make linear sense.
Why not,
Yeah.
right?
It's very noble. Adam.
Why are we here if not for that?
That's the purpose of this podcast, right?
Completely. We are trying to historically fact check the Bible and get it.
Yeah, force it to align with
We
history.
called it the King James Version because there's only one virgin. We called, oh, fuck.
So the next guy is King Darius,
Oh boy.
who was one of the.
Just a really cool dude.
He was a Mede.
King Darius.
I was looking to you to see if a Hootie and the Blowfish joke was coming. That's what I was doing just then.
Is that guy's name Darius?
Darius Rucker.
Oh, harmonica. Dude.
Successful career in his own right as a country music star.
Yeah.
Does he always wear that?
Hold on.
But now
Wait, Darius Rucker was in Hootie and the Blowfish? I know the only thing I know about Hootie and the Blowfish is there was a guy named Hootie, and presumably the rest of the band was the Blowfish.
Incorrect. There was no Hootie in Hootie and the Blowfish.
Darius Rucker was the Hootie.
I guess.
is blowing a harmonica
Hootie.
being a hootie? That's not true.
Sure.
Nick, just become an expert in this now.
But they're back, so he doesn't have a solo career anymore.
The Blowfish are back?
Oh, they're back.
Is it like them?
Anyways.
Are they like touring with 311? Like,
Anyways.
Yeah. So
listening to that?
There's no King Darius either, and that leads us to.
But we just gloss over Darius. Like,
Well, he's the king for the next few chapters.
uh-huh.
Yeah, he's the Mede who took over.
Nothing notable.
Well, he's about to like have a lot of stories about him.
Oh, okay.
He's the new guy.
Great.
but he didn't exist. So
Well, that's true.
okay,
In the Bible, he exists.
got it.
Which is the most prolific history book
Yeah.
ever.
It's the definitive source.
It's the most popular source.
Yeah, it is.
It's the Taylor Swift of historical sources.
I think we can do better with our metaphors.
Well, Darius was right there. You can't fault me for that.
It's the Darius Rucker of historical sources.
So Darius and Daniel get along swimmingly, just like right off the bat. And
You're gonna have to team me up for this next story because I actually don't remember why.
that's what I'm doing.
Okay, cool.
So Darius and Daniel were getting along swimmingly, as I was saying, and to a point where all the other people in charge were very jealous. Like all the people Darius brought with him. Daniel, the new guy, is just super popular, doing a great job. Darius is just appointing him to this, appointing him to that.
125-year-old dude is just now the coolest guy.
It's like 400 at this point.
I'm just adding another 20 years every time we have a story.
I would love
He's the original Merlin at this point. He's in like the big robe.
You know, that kind of tracks in some ways with the prophecy and a bunch of shit.
That's actually not bad. Daniel as Merlin. That would be an interesting medium.com article.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they basically come up with a plan to entrap Daniel,
Okay.
where they put this plan in front of the king, saying that for 30 days, no one can petition anyone but the king. So no one can ask anything of anyone but the king, or they'll be cast into a lion's den. And the king's like, yeah, fine, whatever.
That seems like such a thing I would as a leader would never want. Like, no, I have a bureaucracy, so I don't have to deal with the shit out there.
Well, I mean, they probably just snuck it onto a education bill or something.
That's fair.
And so that night, Daniel's well aware of this. He goes and he sets up to pray in his window facing Jerusalem like normal. And they're waiting.
Oh, that kind of supplication.
Yeah.
Got it.
And they're waiting there to see him. And they go report. And the king's like, oh,
That's not what I meant.
Man, I like that guy. He was greatly displeased with himself. And set his heart on Daniel
Darius,
to
I
deliver
can't
him.
believe it. Yeah, every time.
Yeah. So I feel like you can take it from here.
Well, here's the thing. I think I said in the last podcast too, like Daniel is really not on my brain. I know Daniel goes into the lion's den. I know that he survives the lion's den. I don't remember any of the other details.
How common were lions' dens to just have as devices for this sort of thing?
It sounds like common enough.
I think Darius was like the mobster, so it's like having a pig farm.
Okay.
Like never trust a man with a pig farm.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
You might be although this also could be presumably like this was like Greek Roman overchange, like when this was theoretically written.
I don't know. The fiery furnace was the previous guy's thing.
Well, no, I mean, like you were saying that when the scholars think that this was, or Asimov thinks that this was written like kind of between the Greek and the Roman changeover.
Oh, well, it's all a veiled metaphor against the oh crap, what were their names? Seleucids.
Okay.
So
I'm
like
just thinking,
all of this is just kind of, well, the whole point of this metaphor of God protecting you, it's
right.
God will protect you no matter what, no matter like who the big bad is.
Right. My thought was that the Romans clearly had a big obsession with lions and used them for entertainment as far as like fighting, sparring thing, and had lions den. So it's not far from the idea. So like if this is a story that they're planting to be just like going, this is a thing, here
coincidentally, this was probably pre-Roman influence in this area. Like this was probably written when the Romans were like up and coming and conquering. Mm-hmm. And then they kind of not totally conquered the Seleucids, but the Seleucids were like still like left kind of in control, but Rome hadn't done that yet.
Got it.
So I don't think this would have been poking at the Romans yet.
Got it. Well, I wasn't thinking so much as poking at the Romans as just a thing that they had reference to.
Apparently just everyone loved lions.
I'm into it.
Yeah, I mean, lions are cool.
Yeah. So
Lion Kings.
He's thrown into the lion's den, and the king puts his seal on the stone to.
Oh, that's right. And then like he's in there for a while, like 7
overnight.
days. Oh, it's just overnight.
It's just overnight.
And then they wake up and like kitties are fine.
The king himself rushes down in the morning, being like, "Oh God, Daniel, I hope."
Yeah, they kicks the door open, and Daniel's just like having a chat, having like coffee with the lions, and like nothing's going on. The lions are calm. Yeah, and Daniel's just chilling. It's like, "Hey, king, come have some tea."
Then the king arose very early in the morning and went in haste to the den of lions. Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you serve continually, been able to deliver you from the lions? And then Daniel said,
"Let me use this leading dialogue."
Did I mention that this book is just crap writing? It's my least favorite read. Oh, king, live forever.
Fuck you.
Yeah. The king was exceedingly glad, blah, blah, blah. Daniel was taken out. And then this is fun. And the king gave the command, and they brought those men who had accused Daniel, and they cast them into the den of lions. Them, their children, and their wives. Unnecessary.
Very much so.
And the lions overpowered them and broke all their bones in pieces before they ever came to the bottom of the den.
Yeah.
Oh,
wow.
Shit.
It took a turn.
Cool.
It was a needed turn, honestly.
Oh,
it was a little boring.
Absolutely.
I mean, that makes it a much better story. And honestly, the part I didn't remember that. I remember, like, as you were kind of reading, I was like, this is not a good story. This is no Samson.
I feel like you've mentioned that you heard this story when you were very young.
We just never revisited it.
They probably left out the breaking every bone of children before they hit the floor part.
Yeah. And the children's mommies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
and their puppies and their dollies.
For the lessening of the story. But yes, they did leave that out.
So yeah, it's basically a God will protect those who are faithful to him and then fuck up everyone else.
And also probably look out for lions.
That's just generally good advice, right?
I would say that's the overarching moral of the whole Bible.
Watch out for lions.
Watch out for lions.
And Christianity going forth, like past the end of the Bible too.
And today.
I mean, lions are less of a problem today.
Yeah, but I like that thick slab of glass between me and a lion.
You know, when we were living in California, I remember it was like a Sunday afternoon, and we heard, you know, like how the cops have the announcement on their car, or it's like the bullhorn type thing, but it's in the car. And so we heard like the whoop whoop.
It's a loudspeaker.
Yes, but like but it's like a, you know, because it sounds like a bullhorn. It doesn't sound anyway. So they're like going up.
Bullhorn is a loudspeaker.
Oh, shut up. So they're going up and down our road, and they go to the little whoop whoop with the
what's it sound like?
Whoop whoop.
There you go.
With the siren, and then they would say, "Stay in your houses. There is a wild boar loose on your street. Stay in your houses." And there was legitimately a wild boar had come and killed like 4 dogs on our little, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 block chunk of our street. And so, yeah, I mean, that was just a boar. So I assume that if I would run into a lion today, that was the end of the story. I was this close to being attacked by a wild boar is really how that.
All the bones of children broken before it hit the floor.
Yeah.
And then he went to.
And that's some real shit.
Well, let's ruminate on the bones for a minute, and we'll be right back here on the King James Virgin. And we're back here on the King James Virgin.
So that was Middle Daniel.
Yeah.
Second Daniel. Stay tuned for third Daniel at some point in the future, where we get such great hits as the 4 beasts.
Yeah.
And the little horn.
Didn't you say too that we were introduced to
Gabriel?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, some angels, a lot of
some demons.
Fake
but that'll be
telling.
Weeks, months, years away. Who knows?
Yeah. We got to figure out how to approach that. That's dense.
Yeah. Let's see how climate change goes. And
we may not exist.
Figure it out.
We may not have to worry about it. Should I wrap this up?
Yes, please.
All right. Thank you so much for listening. Please check us out on Twitter and Instagram at KJVPod. We post there quite frequently. Nick is doing some great stuff on Twitter. And
please follow us on Twitter.
Yeah. You got some great content on there.
I'm over here posting Life of Brian GIFs. You know, like, you want to follow that.
Fuck, Nick.
What?
Let's not get into the GIF debate.
The GIF?
You mean Life of Brian GIFs?
And
I'm posting.
Thus endeth the podcast.
Animated Monty Python bits.
And animated bits.
Great.
We would love if you guys would continue rating and reviewing. By the way, if you really would like a laugh, the reviews that people are leaving are stellar. Please just read the reviews on iTunes. But if you want to leave your own, that would really be awesome. But really, if you could just tell a friend that you think would dig the podcast, we would really appreciate it. Thanks again to Mascaras and Resurrection Records for the use of our theme song, Kixari, off the album El Moren. You know, we love what they're doing, and we're featuring a different artist each week from Resurrection Records. And this week it's Friends, F-R-E-N-Z. You can listen to all of the music that we post on our website, kingjamesvirgin.com, also on their Bandcamp, etc. So yeah, that's what I got.
Great. Well, until next week, free a lion from a zoo. Bye.
Produced by Sonic Bazaar.